always believe the Pareto law that 80% of our business comes from 20% of our customers. But the issue we have is we have no idea who our 20% of our customers are in terms of who's best, who's worst. Because yeah, you can measure it on sales volume and rank it from top to bottom. But if you all have worked in businesses and run businesses, you'll probably know that sales isn't the best indicator of how good a customer is for the business. So then I came away and started researching the problem and started thinking, well, how can we rank customers based on multiple different criteria? And so how can we take sales into account, but also financial data, operations data, customer service data? This all exists in different places, but how can we bring it all together and rank these customers based on that? So I've done a little example for you to sort of show you how it works. So this is the data set. So again, if you can't see it, I'm going to go through it. So customer ID is just so that we can relate it back to the customer, because the last thing you want is a nice, great ranking of 200 different customers and you don't know who's who. So we've kept customer ID in, but it doesn't actually have any bearing on the results. Next, we've got sales volume, our big one. So everyone is always focused on sales. We always know who's bought what. That's pretty available data. But then I went down into the belly of the beast and started speaking to operations and customer service and people that were on the phones, answering tickets, answering customer complaints and dealing with that side of things. So we started looking at support tickets. How many support tickets are customers raising? So they pay a set fee for customer support, but they can raise as many tickets as they want. They can call as often as they like, and they can have as many field engineers as call outs as they need based in the support package with a fair usage policy. But fair usage policies are great, but if you're not actually measuring it, then what's the point? Support calls as well, very similar to support tickets, so just doing simple counts of those. And then average resolution time. So, if you raise 10 tickets, but they only take 2 minutes to answer, that's not as bad as if it takes 3 hours to answer each ticket that you've raised. So we started bringing that in as well. Support consumables, so part of the support package would be toner, paper, things like cartridges, spare parts, things like that. So different customers would have different requirements, and some would hammer the consumables and buy, just order as much as they possibly can because they'd rather have too much than too little. Others would be fair and would only order it when they absolutely needed it. Cost of sales calls, again, account managers constantly going all over the country, managing accounts and things like that. And no one's measuring how much that actually costs. So, okay, great. ABC Limited spends 100 grand a year, but the account manager goes every single week and he's there all day. Well, what's the cost of that? And once you take that into account, how good is that account really once you've taken that into account? Then I went up to finance and sat with the finance people, and their data is pretty good. So I looked at missed payments, how many times, or if a customer has ever missed an invoice deadline. So, standard 30 days, have they ever gone past that? So that one for me was just a yes or a no. You could change that, and it could be how many days on average do they miss the deadline to make it a little bit fairer, because they might have missed it by 1 day, and in this it would say yes, they've missed one. And then another thing that we often did was put customers on stop all the time. You'd say pay your bill, pay your bill, pay your bill, and they never do, and then eventually you put them on stop, and then they eventually pay their bill. And this would be a constant cycle. Well, that's cost incurred for your company to start speaking to the financial controller and other people in the finance department to get these bills paid. And ultimately cost of delivery. So if it's next door, it costs a lot less. If it's free delivery, it costs less to deliver it next door than it does to go up to Inverness or down to Plymouth to do that. So by taking all that into account, we've got sales data, we've got operations data, we've got customer service data, we've got finance data. So we've got quite a broad, holistic view of data relating to a customer, and then you've got the customer ID here. So for this one, we looked at 200 different customers, and we changed the different variables to see. So what we did then is we did look kind of a managing director kind of view, where what you can do is you can weight them differently. So if you're a sales director, you probably only care about sales volume. If you're a finance director, you probably only care about finance data. So we did a managing director's view where we treated all variables equally. So as you can see here, number 1 and number 2 was customer 89 and customer 108, and the worst offenders were customer 91 and customer 182. And as you can see, based on taking everything into account, you can start to see, well, these have got a lot more sales volume, they're not raising as many tickets, the cost of sales is a lot cheaper, they haven't missed payments, these kind of things. But this is based on 200 customers. If you were Amazon, this is tens of millions of customers, things like that, and other companies as well. So that's a management director's view in terms of you take every single input in equal measure. So you don't prioritise sales over finance, you don't prioritise finance over operations, they're all equal. They're all important. So then we can weight them also differently. So what I've done here is a sales director view where I've heavily weighted sales volume. So, okay, yes, they're raising a lot of support tickets, and yes, we have to go see them a lot, but I don't really care about that because they spend 100 grand a year. That's probably a sales director's view. I've heard it myself. They don't care how many account manager visits they have as long as they keep paying, which is fine. So then that changes then the ranking. So then now 141, customer ID 141 is now best because you're taking 96 grand into account more than you would do for the other input variables. And you can see it still takes the others into account, just significantly less important and less weighted than sales. And then ultimately we did a customer support view, which says, you know, I don't really care too much about how much they're paying. Our entire customer service team are dedicated to these 3, 4, 5 accounts. We need to start taking that into account. So by ranking all of these customers, you can then start working with them. So you can say to your account managers, look, these are the worst offenders in these areas. Can you please not just target sales, but also work with them to make sure they're not missing payments, that they're not constantly hammering the calls? Do we need to introduce a training session because they've raised more support tickets this month than any of our other customers combined? So things like that, you can start being more proactive and start ranking your customers based on a holistic view instead of just saying, well, they pay the most, so they're the best customer.